Winter, without a doubt, is one of the most gorgeous seasons that we have up here. And it's even better when you see it from a bird's eye view. The mountains covered in white snow. It's just amazing. Today, we are up here in the mountains and we are standing on water right now. Hard water, also known as ice. This is my 4th outing since my last trout fishing video. And the reason why this is the 2nd winter fishing video this season, despite being out 3 other times, that's just simply due to the fact that I've been getting skunked. I've been out on the river 3 times in a row, got skunked all 3 times. And so when you don't catch fish, how do you make a video? So instead of just trying to go back after those river trout that have been just kicking my butt, I figured let's change the scenery a little bit and head up north to some frozen lakes and target something other than river trout. So up here, we're on a multi-species lake. There are trout in here, brown trout, brook trout, rainbow trout, but primarily I'm going after perch, yellow perch or bluegill or crappie, panfish if you will. I'm not much of an ice fisherman, so I don't have a fish finder. So we're kicking it old school and just drilling random holes and hitting every single hole until we can hopefully hit the jackpot and find a school of fish. Yeah, let's give this a go. We're gonna set things up and get comfortable. I have never even opened this up, so we're going to find out how to set this up together. I'm assuming it's going to be just like any other tent. Could be wrong. It's drizzling a little bit, so I think it's a good idea to set this up, even if we don't catch anything. I just want to set it up to get familiar with how to set it up. All right, seems like it's just a pop-up sort of deal, I hope. Okay. We have to lay it flat, which this thing won't even lay flat, right? Okay, I guess we just pop one side at a time. Popping one side at a time. Seems like that's the way to go. There we go. Okay, I don't know what I was doing on my first try, but I think we got it. So open this door. We gotta go inside and pop the roof. There we go. Open a window. Open a window. Window. I think that's pretty much it. I'm gonna bring it over our fishing rods. Just like that. And now we just throw our stuff in. I'm not gonna stake it down just because it's not windy at all. If my shelter gets blown away, then it gets blown away. Perfect. Now let's just go inside the tent and hope that we can catch fish. All right, here we go. Are we gonna catch fish? Probably not, but it's worth a try. In here, I have a portable chair just for things like this. You know, you're going on a fishing trip where you have to haul a little bit of gear, and we're gonna set this up so I can sit down. The Clum Dog Outdoor boys are actually fishing about 200 yards away from where I am right now, and they're hollering a lot, so it sounds like they're on some fish, which I'm not surprised from those boys. They're pretty well versed when it comes to this type of stuff. Unlike me, I'm pretty clueless. Ta-da! There's our chair. Sit down. First time in this shelter. It's pretty nice. I've got 3 little windows, one right here, another one right here, and another one right here. And this is the door to my right. And I actually have like 5 holes drilled in front of me, but I can only fit 3 in my little shelter. This is a one-man shelter. Now that we're settled, hopefully we can really start honing in on these fish. I just love it that I have the shelter and I don't have to worry about rain, because it is raining outside. It's not raining, it's just drizzling, but even a little bit of moisture like that will drench you over time. And so for bait, today I just have 3 types of bait. So my first one is I just have some worms, good old night crawlers. My second bait of choice is maggots, and then I also have mealworms. So I just picked a spot because 1, it's not that far from where I parked, and 2, I don't know, you just got to start somewhere. So I have 2 rods, just 2 cheap ice fishing rods. I have 4-pound test on both of them, and I have a small tungsten jig head on both of them. One is black and the other one is like a pink/white, and I have them both tipped with a maggot. So like I said, I don't really ice fish, so I don't have a lot of gear invested in this type of fishing, so I don't have a fish finder. So for all I know, there could literally be 0 fish underneath me right now, but you don't know. So we're just going to fish and try to figure this out. I've just been on a dry spell, so I just hope I catch at least 1 fish. I don't even care if it's like a 3-inch perch. I just want to catch something. I'll reel this one up though, and oh, look at that. My maggot is gone. I wasn't paying attention, so let me reel this one up. If this one's gone too, then that means there's a fish. This one, the maggot is still on there. So we're going to drop this one way back down. I'm starting way at the bottom, so I'm letting my jigs sink all the way to the bottom. Once it hits bottom, I'm gonna reel it up like anywhere from 3 to 6 inches off the bottom. So letting this rod go. It just hit bottom. I'm gonna reel all the slack, reel it up a little bit. Okay, perfect. That right there is a little tungsten jig head with a mealworm. Going to send her right back down. And now the waiting game begins. The one thing I do notice about ice fishing is a lot of times these panfish, they bite very light. So if you're not paying attention to your rod, you might not even know that they're biting. So I'm just gonna leave my rods. That way my shaky hands won't fool me that it's a fish. They're just sitting stationary on the ice right now, and if they get a little tap, you know it's a fish. For now, sit back, relax, and wait for a fish. So, oh. Was that just me? Oh no, that's a fish. Very light bite. That's 100% a fish. Oh, I just got hit. I just got hit. That was a fish. That was a big thump. Oh, there's fish in here. I just got thumped. Come on, come back. Man, those plum dog boys are killing it. They're like yipping and hollering over there. So I just got hit maybe about 5 inches off the bottom. Oh. Oh. We're getting hit, boys and girls. Super light bites. I'm not in tune with these bites. They're very light. They're very light and they don't hold on very long. I feel like they just come up to nose it for the most part. It's a little bit of jigging action just like this. That was another tap right there. Man, I don't know what those plum dog boys are catching over there, but they're having a blast. All right, let me check my maggot. Maybe my maggot's gone. Yep, maggot is gone. So we know that these fish are hitting maggots. So I'm gonna put one jar right here. This is like the only time where I'm not afraid to touch a maggot is when I'm using it for bait. Any other time or context of maggots, I run away from them. But fishing, touch a maggot all day long. All right, right back down this hole. This is the third hole. I fished this one right here first. Well, that's actually where one of my rod is. I fished the second hole right here. And now my third hole over here seems like it's producing. So we just need to land one fish. I just need to break the ice. No pun intended. So I'm letting it sink all the way to the bottom, hit bottom, reel up a little bit off the bottom. And now back in business. Got him. Fish on. That one held on a lot longer. Oh, we caught a fish, finally. This is all we want. I'm not even asking for a big fish. I just wanted a perch. And today, we're not going after size. This is actually exactly what I'm looking for right here. So that's like a, what, 5-6 inch perch. And we're gonna be cooking these guys up. So we're gonna throw this guy behind us. Finally, this is my 4th outing. And finally got to touch another fish. So that's good progress. You know, like I said, I'm out here without a fish finder. I don't know where these fish are. So I'm just fishing blind. And whenever you fish blind, you have no intel at all, and you catch a fish like that, it's such a confidence booster. So that's all I'm using. I'm just using a very small tungsten jig head. In this case, this one's like a pink purple one. And then I'm just tipping it with a little maggot. That's all I'm using. And like I said, these perch are very light biters. But because this is a very light setup, any little tap or nibble or bite from these perch, I can feel it. And it also goes down to rod sensitivity. How sensitive is your rod? How nimble is your rod? If your rod is very stiff, it's very hard for you to feel these bites. But if your rod is very nimble, even the slightest bites, your rod will detect it. So right back down the same hole, reel it back 5 inches off the bottom, and we're back in business. I got lucky that that one committed. He stayed on there for like 3 seconds. My reaction was so slow. That was a bite. Sometimes I don't even know if it's a fish, but hook sets are free. That was a fish. Got him. Feels like a pretty decent one. Ooh, it's got to be another perch. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Look at that beast. That's a beast of a perch right there. It's one of the best ones I've caught out of this lake. The thing you got to be very careful with when it comes to panfish is their fins are very sharp. But that's number 2. And that's a very good perch right there. So that's 2. Drop it right back down the same hole. Once you find the pattern, whatever the pattern is that those fish are biting on that day, stick with it. There's no point of changing, because most of the time you're spending all this time, you're getting skunked because what you're trying to do is you're just trying to find the pattern that those fish are hitting that day. And once you find it, just stick with it. Like, that's why you work hard switching your tackle, switching your bait, switching your lures, switching colors, switching jig sizes, switching locations, because you're just trying to find where the fish are and you're trying to find what they're biting on that day. I can't even see the rod tip action. All I feel is like the slightest vibration when they come and tap it. Maybe my maggot's gone. If you're getting a bunch of action like that and then all of a sudden it dies, usually it means your maggot is gone. And just like that, you see that? My maggot's gone. So just from catching these 2 and getting all my hits, I've learned that the perch are anywhere from like 5 to 10 inches off the bottom. As long as I put my jig head in that little maggot in that strike zone, I'm getting hit. So we know they're pretty deep down there. Got him. Number 3. Number 3. Perfect. Got him that time. Just another good one. Nothing gigantic, nothing crazy, but just enough to count as number 3. Oh, he was on. I got lucky with that one. I hesitated for a second, but I felt the weight and he was just on it. Perfect. That's all we're looking for, man. We're not even looking for anything crazy. That's all we're looking for. Just a gorgeous yellow perch. The reason why I don't really care if they're small or big is because how we're gonna cook them, it doesn't matter. As long as it's a perch, it'll work. The best part about shelter like this is I don't need rain gear, so I can just wear my insulation layers over the top of me and not have to worry about my insulation layers getting wet. She'll really like it. This is one of the main reasons why I've never really ice fished. It's because I just didn't have the proper gear, and so whenever I came out here without the proper gear, it was always just like half miserable and half getting skunked. But slowly, I want to just accumulate the proper gear to ice fish. That way I get more and more into this, because it's really hard to enjoy a certain type of fishing or a certain type of hunting if you don't have the proper gear, and every time you go out there it just feels like you're being miserable. So this first item that I got to hopefully steer me towards more ice fishing is the shelter, and so far it's pretty legit. It's been drizzling ever since I got here, and ever since I threw the shelter up, like, you kind of forget that it's even raining outside. It's just so nice. Yep. They definitely prefer dead sticking now. I feel like they're a little bit more finicky. So earlier when I was holding it, I mean, it was working for these first 4, but then after these 4, they kind of stopped biting. And so I put my rod down just to let it dead stick, and they're hitting a little bit more just because there's no action for my hand moving. All right. Looks just like earlier. It's so dark inside here that you kind of forget how bright it is outside. So I'm pretty sure that blue tent over there, that's the Clum Dog boys. And there's another fisherman right here. I think he was fishing right next to me earlier. Seems like he's gonna move out that way. So there's only 3 fishermen out here. Myself, the Clum Dog boys, and that guy right there. There were more people earlier, but I've had, I think 2 or 3 people already leave when I was still fishing in here. So we have 4 fish. Just wanted to come out and check. I still have eyes on those rods just in case something funny happens. And it's been drizzling off and on. It's just beautiful out here. It's been good to just get out and breathe some fresh air. You got mountains, a mountain right there covered in snow with a little bit of mist. It's always a good time whenever you can get outside and get away from the concrete jungle, also known as the city. I think I missed it. Got him. Finally. Oh my goodness. Oh, yes. Thanks for playing, brother. Thank you. Took me way longer than it should have to just catch number 5. I will happily take that one. The lighting's horrible in here just because I'm in a shelter and it's blocking a lot of sunlight out, but that's number 5. So I got what I wanted. I'm gonna start packing up here. I got my goal of 5 perch. I'm gonna get my stuff situated here just because I also have no idea how long it's going to take me to tear down this shelter. So I'd rather start sooner than later. And we'll get going and throw these perch in the grease. Let's get out of here. I keep looking back because earlier when I was going out there, I got out to my fishing spot and I turned around and looked at my sled and my auger was gone. And so I had to walk all the way back to the launch and my auger dropped right here, which is like 50 yards from the car. So I'm just constantly looking back to make sure that nothing dropped so I don't have to go back and get it. We're gonna do something I've never done with perch before. And I gotta give a shout out to my boy D Yang over in Wisconsin. I've never seen anybody cook perch this way before. And so when I came across this video of him doing a catch and cook with yellow perch, I was like, that's the next thing I'm gonna do whenever I go back and catch perch. So since we caught some perch, I'm gonna do basically what he did, which is nothing like super different than like a normal deep fry. But what's different is just how he approaches this aspect of deep frying fish. Normally, you deep fry fish by deep frying only the fillets or something along where there's no bones. But how David does it, he basically deep fries the whole perch. So I've never done this before. We're just gonna do it together and we'll see how it turns out. I have 5 beautiful perch here. I'm gonna set up my cooking station first and we'll get going on from there. The first thing we have to do before we even start cooking is we have to prep the fish, which I'll prep the fish momentarily here. So first things first, we're just gonna scale the perch. Perch have very dense scales compared to like other panfish like bluegill and crappie. If this was a bluegill and crappie, just by me doing this one motion right here, most of the scales would already pop off. But perch, they're just a different breed. They're just built different. And so their scales are a little bit harder to come by, but still the idea is the same. Just run your knife against their scales because their scales are pointing backwards towards their tail. So you go against it to pop the scales loose. It might be better to have a fork, but I don't have a fork with me, so we'll just use a knife here. So first things first, we're just gonna scale this and do the rest of those fish, and then we'll go on to step 2, which is kind of cleaning it. I think it's very obvious that the majority of the scales are on the sides of the fish. What people tend to forget is that there's actually scales along the spine and also on the belly. So people who don't realize that, they'll scale the fish just like how I did here, and they'll leave the scales on top of the spine and also the scales on the belly still on the fish. And when they eat it, they find themselves a mouthful of scales and they wonder why. And so that's why. Make sure that you also take off the scales on the bottom down here, as well as in between its anal fin right here and its tail, and also right above their tail on top up here as well. There's scales all over these fish, not just on the sides. So make sure that if you're trying to scale a fish, you do all parts of the fish where there's scales. Again, you can use a knife, you can use a fork, or if you have an actual like scaling tool, like a descaler. The fish is pretty much clean. I'm just going a 3rd round just to really make sure that there's really no scales left. This perch is pretty much scaled, so I'm just gonna cut open its bottom right here. And these perch are full of eggs, but a lot of these perch in these lakes are actually considered like a problem. Like these perch are overpopulated. So considering that we're taking out a bunch of perch because this one's a female, it's actually pretty good for the ecosystem in this body of water. Depending on what you fish, obviously that's going to change, but a lot of these northern lakes where I live, perch are actually considered a pest, if you will. That's why I wasn't too concerned about keeping all the perch I caught. Granted, we only caught 5. So I'm not exactly sure how D Yang cleans his perch. I'm just kind of cleaning it how I normally would clean a trout. And so the goal here is to take out all the guts along with the gills. So I just started at its anus, cut all the way up, and then just slit its throat kind of. And now we're just gonna pull it out. I don't know if this is gonna work with perch, but there's a first for everything, so we'll see if it works. And it doesn't really work. Granted, okay, yeah, it doesn't really work well with perch, but we will just go ahead and take out what we can. So these are the two front fins. Take out all the eggs. You can eat this if you want. I'm not gonna do it. And then come to the body here, and its kidney is not as prominent as a trout, but you can see that dark line there. As far as I'm concerned, that's the perch. We're gonna fry it just like that. Scaled it, removed the guts, removed the gills, and now we just have to do the same thing to the other four. Made quick work of these perch, and they are absolutely gorgeous, all prepped and ready to throw in the grease. So again, just scaled all of them and then gutted them out, leaving the head on because according to D Yang, the head's the best part. So we'll give that a test. Now it's all about firing up the grease. Nothing like a good old tailgate catch and cook. So hopefully these new propane canisters here work. And the vegetable oil, it's kind of solid in a way. That's just because I've had it in the car and it's been kind of cold. Let's fire this up and get to cooking. As always, sparkling ice. It's been a while since I've had this. I only drink it when I treat myself to like a catch and cook, like how I'm doing right now. I haven't drank this in like 4 to 5 months, which is simply due to the fact that I've been hunting. So since I've been hunting, I haven't really focused on catch and cooks. So I have not had this in quite some time. That's the best. Sparkling ice, pink grapefruit. That's the go-to. Love it. Again, scaled, gutted out. We're gonna throw it in the grease. And then once it's done cooking in the grease, we're just gonna top it with some of this Hmong peppers, or what I would just classify as a salsa. So what we have in here is green onions, cilantro, red chili peppers, fish sauce, lime juice, and water. The amount of what you put of each ingredient really depends on you. If you like it more spicy, then you add in more chili peppers. If you like it more sour, you add in more lime juice. If you like it more salty, you add more fish sauce and less water. If you like a very herby taste, throw in more green onions, throw in more cilantro. The proportion of what you add, there's really no right or wrong. It really comes down to personal preference. I typically like mine somewhere between salty and spicy with just a little hint of sourness. So that means I would add the least amount of lime juice, a little bit more heavy on the fish sauce, and a little bit heavier on the chili peppers. And then for herbiness, the cilantro, green onion is just until it fills the little bowl where it makes it look just full, right? You don't want to have so much water and so much fish sauce in here where it looks more like a soup. So you kind of have to play around with making sure that it looks like legit like a salsa more than it does like a soup. Yeah, these perch are cooking fast. Threw them in there and almost immediately golden brown. Cooking very fast. wants to turn. Only fits 4, so we'll do 4 and leave the biggest one right here for last. Grease is pretty hot. As soon as I threw it in, these guys already turned yellow. And I believe the goal is to just cook it until it's crispy. I think that's the goal. Oops. Which these perch are cooking very fast. It's beautiful out here. I love spending time out here in the mountains. You know, when it comes to fishing, there's a lot of places you can fish. You can fish the desert, whether it's a desert lake, a desert river, or you can come to the mountains like this. I choose the mountains every day. But these guys are looking good. I'm gonna turn off the oil or the heat. I figured that crispiness is what we're going about. Again, I don't really know how long David cooked his perch in his video. And so I'm just going according to sight right now, and they look relatively crispy. So we'll just leave it at that. We'll cook this guy later. I only have room for 4. All right, let's take one of these guys. We'll go with the smallest one. So that right there is just one of the perch, deep fried, no seasoning. And I believe the test that this has to pass when it comes to whether or not I cooked it right is I should be able to eat just the head. So according to David, he goes for the head first. So if I cooked it long enough, it should just be very crispy. Never done this before. I think I could have cooked it a little bit longer, but it's still, I never thought I'd be eating perch heads, but I am. It could have gone for a little bit longer, but I think it's all right. Now let's go and eat it how I had it planned. Perch, whole perch with a bone pepper. Don't know how well that looks. Eating the bones and everything. This is good. It really is. I think cooking it how David cooks in his video, or just like how I did today, is actually a good alternative if you don't want to fillet all your perch, or you just want more out of your tiny little perch. I mean, like I said, I could have cooked these guys for a little bit longer. So if I had to guess for the duration of how long you cook these perch, I'd probably say anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes in the grease. Maybe a little bit longer depending on the size of your perch. For these little guys, I mean, they cooked pretty fast. And even then, with how long I cooked them for, which is maybe about 7 to 8 minutes, they could have gone for maybe a little bit longer just to have that extra crispiness to them. But nonetheless, the perch with the bone peppers is pretty legit. I don't think I'm ever going to fillet perch ever again. I mean, why are you going to go and make a hassle out of these perch where they give you like a 4-inch fillet when you can just eat the perch whole. Looks pretty legit. I think I have just found my new favorite way to cook perch. So the first one, it was kind of cooked properly, but I figured it could have used more time in the grease. So I threw these 3 back in the grease for another like 4 minutes. And now they're like super extra crispy, which is I think how you want it in the first place. So instead of having that just light brown color to it, it has a much more dark color to it. And it's almost to the point where the meat is almost dry. But because you're eating the entire fish, it's not as dry for some reason. I don't know why. However, crispy whole perch. Again, credit goes to my boy D Yang. He's the one who showed me this way to cook perch. And it's really nothing crazy, you know? You're just, instead of filleting the perch and deep frying the fillets, you're just frying the whole perch to the point where it's crispy enough where you can just eat the bones and the fins and the head with it, with the meat. And I think this fish sauce salsa is the perfect thing to top this with. David was right. When you cook it like this, the head's the best part. So it's a relatively simple recipe, but definitely the key here is just how you cook the fish. You definitely want to cook your fish a little bit longer than how you would normally just deep fry your fillets or boneless fish, because the bones, they just take a little bit more cooking for it to become nimble and just break when you chew on it. You don't want it to be very flimsy where it's just going to poke you when you chew on it. So for these perch, right around like the 5-6 inch mark, I'd probably say leave it in the grease for about 15 minutes minimum. After that, then it should just be bone crunchy. Perch number 4, and that thing is decorated with a bunch of good stuff. Fish number 5 is in the grease right now. That's the biggest one. Save the biggest one for last. Before we close out this video, I do have a quick announcement that I want to share with you. In Portland, during February 15th through the 19th, I will be at the Sportsman Show for all 5 days. I will be there the entire duration of the show. And so if you want to stop by, or if you are attending the Sportsman Show, come by and say hi. I will be at the Pacific North Wild booth. I'll just be sharing a booth with my friends over at PN Wild. So once again, February 15th through the 19th at the Sportsman Show in Portland, I will be at the PN Wild booth. Stop by if you're attending a show. If not, then maybe I'll catch you at a different show. That's it for now. I appreciate you watching. See you on the next one.